Welcome back, everybody. We have yet another very, very special guest with us this week. Everybody, welcome to the show, Sal Abbinanti. Welcome to the show, Sal.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And kudos to Chris for you got the last name right, buddy. I'm proud of you.
I'm starting. I'm getting better at this.
Yeah, there you go. He's had some practice.
It turns into Abbinati or Abernathy or
yeah, I'm sure you heard it all.
DMV. I the DMV where I sat there for half an hour one time. The lady, Ellie Auntie, she was saying, I don't know who else.
Like Audie Ann or something like that.
Yeah. It's okay. Mine turns into like either they add extra N's or it's just like runt or something weird like that. And I'm just like, no,
yeah. Mine, I think she was calling me Alliant. Is where they got out of it. I don't know how they got the two B's into the two
It's
L's.
weird the maps they draw to get to butcher your one time. I mean, mine's Ricker, but one time they're like, "Is that with a T?" I go, "Where do you get a T?" And that name. But anyways, thanks for being on the show, man. Glad to have you here. For our first time guests, we like to pick apart your origin story a little bit. So. We'll talk about the Kickstarter, which is really interesting in a second here. But give us the rundown of how you got involved in comics and what made you want to create on your own and stuff like that.
I wanted to get into comics. I was an artist. I was a storyboard artist in advertising, but comics was my first love. In the 90s, when everybody was doing the independent stuff, the image stuff, I tried to break in hook or crook, and really, Marvel and DC went to every portfolio line, every convention, met with every editor, and I couldn't get arrested. They just did not want nothing. I mean, I heard every imaginable excuse, sort of, I got your sister pregnant for not hiring me. And there's that old saying, everything they say after but or before but is bullshit.
Yeah, right.
My work. So I realized if I didn't become an indie creator and put my own book out, I was not going to do comics, or I was not going to be able to get into comics.
Right.
So I put Atomica out, a book called Atomica, God is Red, in 2006, 2007. And from there I went on. I thought that book was going to make me into the next, and it didn't. Yeah. So you realize that if you want to get into comics, you can do comics. Because it's easier now with desktop publishing, but you have to do your own. And then I worked in comics because I also rep Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yep.
So I was always connected with the comic business, but my first love is to be a comic artist. So
okay. Can you talk about that? What is repping for those guys like?
I met Alex. Alex and I were friends back before he became Elvis Presley, and we were in advertising together. We knew the same people. He asked me to help him out, and that was 20 years ago. And I started handling his original art sales. We created the websites, and I'm the guy at the cons. Yeah. And then I met Bill Sienkiewicz, and so we kind of did the same thing. It's a good job. It keeps you in the game, but it's not what I wanted to get in the business for. I wanted to be an artist. You either, being an artist in comics, it's like you're bit by a vampire. You really don't have much choice. You have to do it. So.
Yeah. And I mean, for you got shot down by DC and Marvel.
Everybody.
And then for you to like, kudos to you to be like, hey, I'm still going to get something made either way. Like I'm just going to publish it on my own or,
well, it's easier now than it used to be. And I tell this to guys that wanted to get into comics all the time, is that, in the 90s or even, 10, 15 years ago, you wanted to do an indie book. You couldn't do an indie book. It cost a lot of money, and you couldn't do 50 copies, 100 copies. There was no desktop publishing.
Yep.
So I tell this to guys all the time. Look, if you want to go in the front door, that's great. But that's a very small percentage that go in the front door. But if you really have to do comics, and you really want to be a comic writer or an artist or whatever it is, there's a lot of ways to do it. Now, you're going to have to hustle a lot more. You're going to have to really get out there and, kick the bushes. But there's more ways to do it now than there were before. You've got social media. You've got, there's no more Artist Alley, at least until COVID is over.
Right.
There's ways, but the biggest problem with indie comics is getting people to buy them and getting comic stores to order them. So you can put a book out and then nobody sees it. So you got to be willing to hustle at the same time.
Yeah, and getting some of these guys to be the promoter for themselves, especially at a con. Like a lot of us just don't have that in us, and that's really tough for people.
It's tough. Yeah, it's a lot of organized begging, and you really, I mean, when I had no idea Kickstarter was this much work. My God, anybody who wants to do Kickstarter, I recommend it as a creator, because you could do this. You could show, the old business model was you put an ad in Diamond and you waited to see if the comic stores ordered your book. Right. And it went to cons and you went to Artist Alley. But in Artist Alley keeps getting smaller now, because you're competing with the guy who was in Caddyshack, who wants to sell his autograph, and the gal who was Tootie in The Facts of Life, who's selling her autograph. Right. And so it's a shrinking, for people that go to cons, who are actually buying comics. So but with Kickstarter, I could show you some of the pages. I could do a video and tell you what it's about. You can look at it and go, you know what, it's for me or it's not for me. So at least you feel you're getting some sense of I got an opportunity to talk to you about it and show it to you. Whereas when you do it on your own and you go to a con, or you just do it through comic stores, the percentage of being able to talk to you guys like this, it drops. Because a lot of comic stores don't touch indie titles.
Yeah. We definitely see a pattern there. I mean, it's like, because Chris and I are kind of in tune with what comes out, and it's a lot of like asking comic shops to order an issue specifically and stuff.
Well, the Diamond model changed all that. See, in the 90s, if you were a comic store and you ordered comics and they didn't sell, they had a 50% credit rate if you wanted to return them. Well, they got rid of all that. So now if you're a comic store and you order my book and it doesn't sell, you got to eat it. And so comic stores are not willing to take a chance on stuff that's untested or unproven. Yeah.
So, well, that's a great jump into the Kickstarter here. I mean, let's talk about the hostage. So, what is it, and what are you hoping to, show with the story here?
Well, my philosophy on anything indie is do something that a subject that you've got some emotional attachment to, because you're gonna kick ass with it, because it's your personal experience, it's your personal take on something, versus just another Wolverine, or just your version of Batman, or just your version of because why am I going to buy your Batman when you've already got your Batman? Everybody wants to recreate their version of their favorite character, which is cool, right? But good luck trying to get people to buy your version of Marlboro cigarettes when they've already got Marlboro. It doesn't taste like, Right. So do something that at least you feel like, man, this is something that's important to me. This is cool. I really want to tell this. This is based on a personal experience. This is based on, and that's what the hostage was. The hostage was based off, it was an idea I got when I spent some time in Rio de Janeiro when I was in college, and it changed my life. I mean, I couldn't unsee what I saw when I was in Rio. And so I always knew I wanted to do something, because my style was, as DC put it, very disturbing. So yeah, we love it, Sal, but it's very disturbing. And I'm like, I walked away and I felt like I was, I was the next Jim Lee after that.
Yeah, right.
So, and then also when it's your dime and you're going to crash and burn, you may as well do it your way. If you're going to let your ass hang out and you're going to have to open yourself to criticism and people that are going to want to tell you, it should be this, or it sucks, or we love it, or we hate it. Do it your way, because if you do it, you do your version of Moon Knight, no one's going to give a shit. Do something that at least you could say, man, this is personal to me.
Right. And your format the whole graphic novel was something that you had, and you didn't want to do issue by issue.
I was in love with the issue by issue thing. When I did Atomica, I put it out as 12 individual issues. Right. And as you guys know, you're into comics. Everybody's like, I had people literally tell me to my face, well, I'm waiting for the trade. I'm waiting for the trade. I don't buy individual issues. Right. And you're like, oh, okay. So as I started to do the hostage, I was going to do it before COVID, just release it through comic stores the way I did with my last book, but COVID changed all that. And then I thought, well, you know what? Let me just put it in a graphic, a novel format. And, I always thought people that go, it's graphic novels, it's not comics, was always kind of snobby. You're like, oh no, I want my Big Mac well done. I don't want it the regular way.
It feels like a pinky up way of saying it.
Yeah, to me, I love the monthlies, but hey, look, the business changed. A lot of people want trades. So with the hostage, it was easy because the original story, the opening story, was too long to put in an individual issue.
Yeah, and
it was always meant to be a graphic novel. Whereas when I did Atomica, it was clearly meant to be 12 separate stories.
So let's talk about the hostage a little bit. So this follows a group of street kids, right? So this is something that you experienced in Rio, a lot when you were over there, and you said, hey, this story needs to be told, to people that don't know what's going on.
I saw a lot of the homelessness. I saw a lot of these kids that were surviving off of begging, and they had no place to sleep, and they had nowhere to live, and they had, thousands of them. And I don't mean homeless like we think of as even grown-ups. These kids are mostly under the age of 10. Wow. So they're little kids that are sleeping everywhere. And you're walking around Rio, and it's this magnificent city. It's beautiful. The people and the culture and everything about it is like right out of a postcard. Yet, once you kind of dive deeper, you realize, my God, there's this terribly sad, tragic underbelly that exists. And these kids are getting murdered because a lot of the neighborhoods don't want them. They want to eradicate them. They see them almost like they're pests. They're in the way. So there's also a lot of culture there that's based off. There's a lot of religion there that's based off of voodoo and the indigenous tribes of the Amazon. So it's a fascinating culture. So I always felt there's a really cool story there as a comic book without patronizing how horrible the situation. I wasn't just like, I know, I'll give him a dog. And have him running around Rio, and Ghost Rider will show up. And I knew I couldn't do the American bullshit sensibility to a narrative.
That's a Marvel story waiting to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was love it, and people might say, "Oh, you're not from Brazil. What do you know?" And I'm like, "Look, guys, I'm not saying I'm from Brazil.
Right.
I'm not saying that I have a personal relationship to this the way the people that live there do. But I'm just telling you, this is based on my personal experience." And my style of art clearly is not for everybody. So I thought, look, I married the two, and this was a story that I knew I had to put out on my own because publishers just were like, what?
Yeah.
So
it's not something you hear about because like you said, I've always heard Rio de Janeiro is beautiful and you got to see it. But then you talk about the real things happening, and it's like this seems like not only it's a personal story, but it's a way to educate people too on hey,
look, I don't claim to have any answers. It's not a happy ending. I don't claim to say, hey guys, this is going to solve anything. I pick all my numbers and all my stats and everything, all the research I did on it for the last 10 years have been off of UNICEF and Amnesty International. So I didn't just pull these numbers based off of my opinions and things like that.
Right.
That being said, it's a love letter to Brazil. I love it. Brazil changed my life, my experience there. So anyone who thinks that I'm knocking or it's an indictment against it, because as an American, you're always going to get that. Oh, it's the ugly American telling us how we should run our lives. I'm not telling anybody anything. I don't have it's a comic book, guys.
Right.
I'm an indie comic artist. And any indie comic guy, if you go into this for the money, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. If you think you're a Netflix deal. Yeah, okay. Good luck with that.
Good luck
with that.
I know you're pretty much double funded what you need to be, right? And you got a few days left here, but
very excited.
We always talk about this though. That means that you shouldn't stop donating for this project. Because a lot of the times you'll start a project lower than it needs to be just so more people will fund it, so please, keep donating and stuff like that. You have some awesome stretch goals. I know you have one more to unlock, right? Still,
we got to cut. Yeah, we felt it was important to I went into this very green when it came to Kickstarter. I talked to some people that did it and who were successful at it, and the stretch goals are important. So I was fortunate enough to have some friends of mine contribute, Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz and Jeff Darrow and Eric Powell and a couple other guys that St. Julian. And so I thought it was important to have those stretch goals, even though it seems like organized begging, but the stretch goals are important because look, anything that's going to get your eyeballs to the project is paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So let me ask you a little bit about the art. You said some things about, look, it's disturbing and these other things, but let me ask you, did you do all the colors for this as well as the pencils?
Yes. Yeah, it's all watercolor.
Because that's the thing I wanted to point out. Like, it's the watercolor is something that you don't see often in comics and very unique. Like, how does that flow into the story you wanted to tell? Was that a choice because of the story, or is that just your style?
It's both. I mean, I knew it was important that, I learned a lot from Bill Sienkiewicz about your composition and your approach to your settings, and your color can evoke a lot of emotion and can have an effect on your overall vibe and your overall feel for the story or the scene, your particular scene you're watching. And then, I also didn't want to work with a colorist again. I've worked with colorists and I thought, you know what, that's great. They're great computer colors. There's some amazing talent out there, but I just thought, you know what, this is my baby. I want to do it all myself. So I was fortunate enough to be able to just say, I'm just diving in. And Bill and Alex were very supportive in the sense of, man, just let it hang out. Don't be afraid to constantly push it and stretch more.
Right.
And I didn't have an editor to answer to. I didn't have a guy telling me, but when does the Fantastic Four show up? And I needed something to kind of, the neon colors were kind of evocative of Rio and the culture, but also of it's kind of, I wanted some kind of a dichotomy of the suffering these kids are going through, and yet all this crazy mesh of colors.
And I think it, like Chris said, it kind of fits, I don't know, the story, and you don't really follow a typical like panel layout, do you? Because you kind of just draw wherever you feel you want to on the page, right? Is that just something you've developed?
No, I stole a lot. I stole a lot from growing up with American comics. Page layouts are page layouts. Getting your eye to move through the page, getting your eye to start, in one direction and go in another direction is very important. In retrospect, it's a little long-winded, but that's because I was working by myself, and sometimes I didn't have fresh eyes to look at the project to say, "Hey, Sal, you can tighten it up here." But I also felt it was important to not be lazy. Sometimes when you write your own stuff, you can write lazy. You can write panels that make it easier to draw. Whereas with this, it was important to, kind of give the kids their due and show the city and show the favelas. And a lot of that is based off of how I felt when you're there. The perspectives are forced and warped and all over the place when you're dealing with the different parts of Rio.
Okay. Yeah, and it's really cool. You already hit the stretch goal for the sketchbook and the slipcase cover too, and the slipcase cover.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. The slipcase was the most important one to me because originally we were going to put it out as a graphic novel, and paper and like a good quality paper graphic novel.
Yeah.
But once we hit the first level, I said, guys, we're in good shape to do this as the way I really saw it, which was a hardcover and a slipcase.
Yeah.
So once we hit that goal, I was completely content. I could have died a happy man right there. Because as an artist, the presentation of it is like, wow, this would be really great if I could put it on good paper and it could really be in a slipcase versus some of the horrible paper I've had to use in the past just because the budget, doesn't allow it.
Yeah, for someone like me that likes the organization of my bookshelf, I like when the Kickstarters come with, like, if there are multiple graphic novels too, they have a slipcase too to keep it organized. It looks awesome. So
it's kind of, it's a blessing and a curse where comics are going with the omnibus because it's kind of pricing some people out of it, but yet I know me personally, I love that stuff. I'm like you. The omnibuses to me are fantastic.
Yeah,
to get that stuff. And I just got the Luke Cage omnibus.
That's awesome.
I didn't read the last three Masterworks of Luke Cage I got, and he's my favorite character at Marvel.
That's awesome.
Yeah, see, I'm very picky about those omnibuses. I'm actually just pre-ordered the Madman one just because I was like, well, I got to have that book for the 15th time, but I don't have a ton of them actually.
Yeah.
it's something that sits on my shelf that I don't necessarily open up because it's weighs like
I've got those. I bought like the complete Conan the other day.
Yeah, just because it looks cool.
Like or the complete. I love the complete works of Jack Kirby at DC, and it's literally like the size of the dictionary you had in high school.
Yeah, those things are awesome. Yeah,
and I'm like, when am I going to crack this? Because I got all the individual ones, and now I'm like, but I got to have them all together.
Yeah.
Like, you get it, and you're like, you can use it to hold the door open. The damn thing is so big.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, that's. I mean, we still got 4 days left here, and if what we hear about and know about Kickstarter is true, these last 4 days are going to see a lot of donations rolling in. Hopefully, so
you hope. I've learned that I've had this has turned into like a telethon where the numbers will go up and then they'll go down. I didn't know that where people will pledge and then decline or change it or whatever. So I've learned I never get too excited one way or another. I have to be honest. I'm over the moon at the fact that we reached our goal and we're able to produce this the way that I want. So do I want people at this point? Yeah, I would love for people to continue so that more people can get the book, more people that see the actual content.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think
why we offered it in PDF form in English and in Portuguese so that the Brazilian comic fan can order it, and if you don't speak English or you're not an English you don't read comics in English, you need them in Portuguese. We did both versions, so
great.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna, like I said, you come across as the ugly American or not, but
one thing to prep yourself for when these 4 days are up is when it hits and you start charging cards. I think it's like 10% is the average that get declined, and then you're on the hey guys, do you mind checking your card?
Look, again, anybody who's going to do Kickstarter, however amount of work you think it is, it's like 10 times that.
It's a ton.
It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of prep, and it's a lot of promoting. And it's a lot of getting out there, and it's kind of like, but look, if it's your baby and it's important to you, it's necessary, because if I wasn't doing Kickstarter, I would be doing this anyway, going to cons and doing Artist Alley and trying to get store owners to buy it, and social media, God help us, it's a big part of this now. And, every asshole's got an opinion on social media.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's an expert.
Yep. The assholes are usually the loudest,
Man, I gotta say, I think there's like 6 assholes on social media for all the bad comments. But look, if you're gonna take the good ones, you got to listen to the bad ones. And what I love is being able to just delete them and block them. If they say hateful shit, I block them. You can say I don't like it. Then I can live. But once you get personal, then it's like then you're gone.
Sal, let me give you this. I'm gonna bring this to another level for you. Don't block them, mute them, because then you can't hear them, but they're still angry and screaming into the ether. But if you block them, then they're like, "Look, Sal hates me so much that he blocked me."
I like when they have their friends contact me.
Oh god!
Like, why did you block my friend? And I'm like, well, did your friend tell you what he said? I mean, it would say that to my face,
right?
No. These guys are all tough guys that when they get on social media, but look, it's the world we live in. You can't really, if you're going to go on social media to promote your product, you open yourself up to that kind of stuff.
For sure.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep. And for all the listeners, watchers, Chris will have the link for the Kickstarter below the video.
Or if they just go on Kickstarter and you type in the hostage, search. Trust me, it doesn't look like anything else under the hostage.
That's
I was gonna say, everybody out there, you check it out in that link down below, and the goals or the rewards are awesome. Like lithographs for all the different artists that he mentioned.
Yep.
You can get original art, Mike, from this book.
I saw that. Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff, including signed Alex Ross lithographs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I have to drive over there and get him to sign them, but I promise they're signed by Alex.
So a lot of really cool stuff. So everybody go check out this Kickstarter. It looks awesome.
Yeah, and if we want to direct our fans to you on social media after just talking about it, where can we send them, Sal?
It's Sal Abbinanti. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, or Mercury Comics, but usually Sal Abbinanti is usually where I get the most.
Okay. Great.
Witness protection comes from Sal Abbinanti.
That's awesome. Thanks again for being on the show, Sal.
Yeah, guys, I really appreciate it. I never take this stuff for granted. You guys are great for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate that. 4 days left, guys. Go check out the Kickstarter, The Hostage, and like you said, the art. You will know what you're looking at when you see it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Just don't not before you go to bed.
Yeah, right.
Don't look at it before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Sal is not responsible for nightmares that ensue due to his art.
Don't operate heavy machinery.
There should be a warning label at the top.
Yeah, if it hurts when you urinate after reading the book.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah. I can't. I got nothing to do with your hobbies.
That's all.
I feel like either at the top of your website or on the back of this book or something, you need to put that quote of Sal, your art is fantastic, but very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
DC Comics.
DC Comics.
And I got to a point where I was getting in fist fights with editors because a lot of the editors who were these voices of they were experts. Yeah. They're now selling Storm Windows somewhere. These are guys that aren't even in comics anymore.
Right.
But yet they were telling you how to write and how to draw comics.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was talking to guys that their opinion, I would never ask their advice, but yet you're asking that you got to show them your work to try to get a job. So there's this kind of weird crossover that you just that's what I tell guys all the time. Guys, we need indie comics. We need indie creators more than ever. If you want to get into comics and you want to be an artist or a writer, I'm telling you, man, put your own book out. It's important because you see Marvel and DC, it's getting in a funnel now.
You're right.
Of content. Yep. So especially writers and artists, man, we need you more than ever. So,
Agreed. Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks again, man, for being on the show. And we'd love to have you back for any other projects you got. So thank you.
All right. Thanks again.